Welcome to Kaumudy Global. India's space industry hit a number of key milestones in 2022. These included our first trial launch of the Indian Space Research Organization ISRO's Small Satellite Launch Vehicle SSLV, 2 rounds of satellite launches from private space firms, and India's first private rocket launch as well. This has opened the gates to 2023 being a potentially pivotal year for India in space, when ISRO could make key announcements for milestones missions such as Gaganyaan, and private startups could find regular launch footing. Let's look at the 5 most important space startups in India to keep an eye on in 2023. Skyroot Aerospace. Skyroot is one of the most important space startups to watch in the coming year. Skyroot achieved 2 important milestones in 2022. In September this year, the startup raised $50.5 million as part of its Series B funding round, with the investment being led by a foreign investor, Singapore's sovereign fund GIC. Not only did this make Skyroot the most funded private space startup in India at the moment, it also made the funding round the largest single round of funding to date for India's fledgling space sector. The funding round showed that international investors are harboring increasing amounts of confidence in the Indian space sector. In November, Skyroot became the first private space startup to launch a rocket from home soil, making a potentially leading startup to watch in 2023. At the time, Pawan Kumar Chandana, chief executive of Skyroot, told that the startup plans to make its first orbital launch in 2023, where it will carry satellite payload from actual paying clients to orbit. Pixel, like Skyroot, once held the baton for being the only Indian space startup to have attracted funding from global investors when it fielded Canada's Radical Ventures for a $25 million Series A funding round in March this year. At the time, it was also the most funded space startup in the country. Before Skyroot, Pixel became the first private Indian startup to launch its satellite, Shakuntala, to a low Earth orbit aboard a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket in April this year. The startup followed this with a launch aboard ISRO's PSLV's C-54 mission for its second satellite, hence taking a step closer to establishing its high-resolution satellite imaging constellation. As we begin 2023, Pixel is expected to officially begin relaying data to commercial customers through the final versions of its satellites. The company aims to launch 6 of them, as per Awariz Ahmed, chief executive of Pixel. 2023 could be the year when Pixel makes marked signings in terms of clients and becomes a leading presence in the global satellite surveillance, imaging, and data analytics space. Agnikul Cosmos. While Skyroot became the first startup to launch a private rocket from India, Agnikul is expected to soon launch India's first private space flight that reaches the orbit. Agnikul also became the first space startup to open its own ground station and mission control room in ISRO's premises. Further, in July this year, Agnikul also opened doors to its own rocket engine manufacturing facility. At the moment, it remains the only private startup with its own assembly chain to make its robots. As a result, it could be one of the most important space startups to watch next year as Agnikul launches its first orbital space flight with its indigenously built rocket, Agniban. Dhruva Space. Dhruva Space is one of only 3 private startups in India to have flown at least one of its satellites or launchers to space alongside Pixel and Skyroot. So far, Dhruva Space has made 2 launches in which it has launched tech demonstrator satellites that can prove its capability as a contract manufacturer for satellites. Chaitanya Dora, chief financial officer at Dhruva Space, says that the company is in talks to raise a funding round in the first half of 2023, which it will use to build its own large-scale satellite manufacturing facility. This could establish Dhruva as India's first space startup with its own white-label satellite marking assembly line next year. Bellatrix Aerospace. In November 2022, Bellatrix Aerospace announced that it is building a new facility where it will test a prototype development of satellite thrusters, small engines that would help satellites align themselves and reach their intended orbits. The $76 million facility spread across 5 acres could establish Bellatrix Aerospace as a key private space startup that would offer components and peripheral services commercially by 2023. While most of its services are yet to be launched, 2023 could be a milestone year for Bellatrix. A task force for animation, visual effects, gaming, comics and extended reality, ABGXR, has presented its report to Union Minister of Information and Broadcasting Anurag Thakur, making a strong pitch for growth in the sector. The report recommends a national ABGCXR mission with a budget outlay to be created for integrated promotion and growth and the launch of a Create in India campaign with focus on content creation in India for the country and for the rest of the world. It asks to institute an international ABGC platform along with a gaming expo with focus on foreign direct investment, co-production treaties and innovation. A national center of excellence for the ABGC sector could be established for skilling, education, industry development and research and innovation for the ABGC sector. Regional COEs will be instituted in collaboration with the state governments to provide access to local industries and to promote local talent and content. A dedicated production fund should be established for domestic content creation across India to promote Indian culture and heritage globally. To ensure inclusively target skilling and industry outreach should be carried out for youth in 2 tier and 3 towns and villages in India. Special incentives should be established for women entrepreneurs in ABGC sector. With the momentum that the ABGC industry has gained in the current times, it has become imperative to develop a support ecosystem for industry at large to facilitate its growth. To boost our domestic capacity and develop the opportunity landscape, we must explore collaborations in academia, co-production, technology, policy and research, and leverage the existing industry expertise to guide the sector. Apurva Chandra, Secretary, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, said in the report. This is Anjana signing off. Do like and share this video. For further updates, subscribe to Kaumudy Global. You may also send in your news and feedback to kaumudyglobal@gmail.com.